an honour to rise and speak on behalf of the beautiful riding of Peterborough, Kawartha, and happy Valentine's Day to everybody watching. I hope that you have somebody in your life that you love, whether it be your parents, your kids, or somebody special. I am the critic to this file, so it is my job to really hone in on what is not being done. So what we're talking about today is C-35. What people at home may know this bill as is the infamous $10 a day childcare that the Liberals have run a very big marketing campaign on and promised the moon, the stars, and the sun, and have not, unfortunately, delivered any of that. So what I want to start with, as I listen to my colleague across the way, who is the minister for this file, reiterate that the purpose of this bill was sold a real pipe dream to Canadians. And as a mom, it's an easy pipe dream to buy, right? So affordable, inclusive, quality, and access childcare. But what I'm going to outline today in this speech, and when we talk about the amendments that were sent back from the Senate, I'm going to outline clearly what we actually have in reality. And so what we have, I also do need to do this, thank you so much. I do need unanimous consent to share my time with the honourable member from Portneuf-Jacques-Cartier.
All those opposed to what the member is proposing will please say nay.
D'accord?
Agreed. That was just heard the terms of the motion. Would all those opposed please say nay? Carried.
Unlimited time. It's a 10-minute speech with 5 minutes questions and comments as she's sharing her time. The honourable member for Peterborough, Kawartha.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to my colleague's speech about this, as I'll get into that in a little bit with the amendments. But going back to what we've actually seen, what this program has delivered. The Liberals love to say it's transformational. That, Madam Speaker, is absolutely true. The childcare waitlists under this program have skyrocketed. Childcare centres cannot grow to meet the demand. Childcare centres cannot afford to operate. There is a bias against entrepreneur-run childcare centres and an open call to phase them out, which will decrease access even more. The people who need affordable childcare the most are not getting it. This program is not equitable. The child is not the priority of this agreement. Ideology is. Parents do not have choice. Children with special needs, which is going up and up as we see more and more neurodivergence, are not getting the support they need with this agreement. Access to childcare has decreased, meaning instead of empowering more women, it has taken away their choice. And yes, I have the stats to back all of this up, Madam Speaker. Setting the provinces up to take the blame when they were coerced into signing a flawed federal contract. So let's break this all down, Madam Speaker, and it is quite an easy thing to break down because really what you need to do is pick up the phone and answer the calls that have been flooding in to, I'm sure, constituencies across this country. So we can start with the stats, just a few quick stats of what's actually happened. 77% of high-income parents access childcare versus 41% of low-income families. That's the stats that is coming out right now. How equitable is that? Shouldn't we want a service where the people who need it the most can access it? The labour force participation rate for women was 61.5% in September 2023 compared to a high of 61.7% in 2015. Women are going down in the workforce, not going up. Employment rate of female youth on a strong downward trend since February 2023 with a cumulative decline of 4.2% over that period. This is the lowest since May 2000, excluding the pandemic. The number of children under the age of 5 in childcare fell by 118,000 between 2019 and 2023, a decrease of 8.5% nationally. 46.4% of parents reported difficulty finding childcare in 2023, which is up from 36.4%. In Ontario, the proportion of children in childcare was 48% in 2023 compared to 54% in 2019. Childcare deserts are affecting nearly 50% of young children in Canada. It goes on and on and on, Madam Speaker, and the numbers are there. And the numbers are real, but I think when you start to listen to the stories, that's where we really have to pay attention, because as I've said multiple times in this House, there are true human consequences to the incompetence and wasteful spending of this government. We recently heard from Andrea Hannon, who is, she oversees ADCO, okay, which is the Association of Daycare Operators in Ontario. She represents independent licensed childcare centres, both commercial and not-for-profit. And this is what she said, because we're doing a study on economic empowerment for women and the status of women. And she said, and I quote, "We have a sector of the economy that was largely created by women, is essential to women's equality in the workforce, and is one of the only economic sectors in the country where women have always been fairly represented as owners and managers. It's not only being undervalued by government, but targeted for replacement by a government-run system." What was even more disturbing about that testimony, Madam Speaker, is not one of the Liberal members in the committee disputed this. Not one. In fact, by their line of questioning, it was clear they were quite comfortable with the idea of arbitrarily eliminating small business. It seems now that this was their plan for childcare. And that is the reality of what we're talking about. And that is why this is an ideology-based system. And they had the option multiple times to help these small business, these female-operated small business owners who are sitting at home and they want to go back to work, but you know what? They don't want to leave their kid, and they think they're going to do two things. I'm going to start my own business, I'm going to be an entrepreneur, I'm going to help the other women in my life and the other families I know, and I'm going to invite children into my home, and I'm going to care for them and provide quality care. Well, what I have heard repeatedly across this country is that these women-owned daycare centers are being targeted, and they are bleeding money, and they are shutting down. This woman wrote to me from Simcoe, and I want to tell you that she told me she right now is personally funding $20,000 to $30,000 per month so that childcare is available just to pay its bills. She said, "We are committing to helping our parents by being in this program." It's called CWELC for people at home. It's an acronym, Canada-wide Early Learning Childcare. CWELC is the common acronym for it. "The reality is by staying in the program, we will be bankrupt and lose 250 childcare spaces, and 45 dedicated staff will be unemployed. This program will close the business that I have worked so long and hard to build." That is the reality of what this program is doing. Now, don't just take my word for it. You're sitting at home, you're a critic, you have nothing nice to say about the Liberals. No, I don't, because they have a record of repeatedly showing us that they cannot manage taxpayer money. That's been in the news all week, an Arrive scam app that should have cost $80,000, and $60 million is the total we know of right now, but it's probably more. $1.36 billion on homelessness, and hey, I don't know if you've been outside lately, but there seems to be a lot more tents. This government is famous for making the people dependent on them, and then taking away that dependence and destroying them. They did it with the media, and they've done it with so many other industries. They're doing it now with our post-secondary education and immigration and students. They've turned off the tap. Now these universities don't know what they're going to do.
I believe we have a point of order from the honourable member from Aurora, Oak Ridges, Richmond Hill.
Thank you very much. I'm just wondering what this has to do with childcare right now. She seems to be straying pretty far from what we were debating.
I think the honourable member, I know it's probably part of debate as we're doing here tonight, but I just want to make sure that everyone stays on the bill that is before us. The honourable member for Peterborough Court.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker, and I'm so glad the Liberal members have to stand up and ask what this has to do with childcare, because it has to do everything with childcare. That is the reality. And so, and it is, Mr. Speaker, I'm going to start to read to you the headlines. These are just in the last month. In 1 month, As the Liberals' universal daycare policy unravels, Conservatives could go on the offensive. Burlington Childcare Centre leaves parents struggling with 1-week closing time. Daycares navigate financial struggles as province aims for $10 a day childcare. Rolling closures highlight need for emergency actions to keep $10 a day childcare viable. 9,200 children waiting for care in Waterloo Region. Alberta daycares brace for losses as Trudeau deal kicks in. Parents have yet to get the childcare they deserve. What does this have to do with daycare to the member opposite? Everything. People can't go to work. That's what's happening. $10 a day daycare is a great idea, but Yellowknife, it's hard to find a spot. My son's daycare can't afford to stay in the $10 a day program. Now we'll have to pay an extra $800 a month. And this is Liberal paid media telling us this. As London daycare's waitlist quadruples, a desperate parent opens her own daycare instead. Childcare spaces remain tight on PEI despite government initiatives. Shall I keep going, Mr. Speaker? Oh, am I out? And that is the reality of this failed program.
I think. Thank the honourable member. Thank the honourable member. So we go to questions and comments. You kind of know how the sequence here works. The honourable member for Aurora Oak Ridge is Richmond Hill.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and thank you for those remarks. You're clearly very well informed about this program. And I would say one thing, yes, there is some ideology behind it. We believe that women should have the choice to go back to their careers if they want to, and to be able to afford that. So in that respect, I agree with you. However, with all of the criticism you have of the program, I'm curious as to why you voted for it. Could you please explain that?
I need to remind members to run their questions, of course, through the chair, not how I voted or not. So thank you. So the honourable member for Peterborough Kawartha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think what's ironic about that member's question is women don't have the choice to go to work, and the stats are in. That's the reality of this program. And you know, I talked to this one daycare operator, and somebody said to her, why don't you just opt out? Why did you opt into this program? And so she said to me, Michelle, I absolutely want to provide affordable quality childcare for people who need it. But this program was rigged from day one. I thought I was doing the right thing, but I was coerced into signing this agreement, and they are taking money from me, and they are taking away the choice for families. And that is what we wanted. We wanted to provide families with choice. We put forward the amendments in committee, and those Liberals and that NDP voted down every single one.
Question commentaire, questions and comments. The honourable member for Winnipeg Centre.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. And I work with the honourable member on the status of women, and we've gotten some things done together in the committee. I appreciate that very much. My colleague, through you, Mr. Speaker, mentioned Andrea Hannon, I know, who's been very critical of the national childcare program. But here's the thing, provincial licensing requirements are a floor. Not a ceiling. And we know that the research consensus is that nonprofit and public childcare delivers high quality care and better outcomes for children than for-profit. We know that through research. And we also know that for-profit care centers historically have exploited workers more so than in public and not-for-profit childcare sectors. And we know one of the reasons why the national childcare strategy isn't getting off the ground is because the Liberal government did not put in place a worker strategy with livable wages, benefits, and pensions. People are not wanting to join the field. So, you know, I have worked a lot with my honourable colleague. We have differences, though, on this. And I'm wondering why she thinks that public money should go towards centres that are not public and not for profit. Why should we use public money for that? Thank you, Mr.
Honourable member for Peterborough Kawartha.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I think I do work very well with my colleague across the way. And we, as Conservatives, supported her amendment in committee to support Indigenous, and the Liberals did not. Indigenous services for children and parents to have that right under it. But I think the real issue here, and I think it's really insulting to these women-operated childcare operators. Why are they not included? And to say that there's research that they don't provide the quality, and it has been said to me repeatedly, and I went into these centers, the quality of childcare is deeply diminishing under this care because they do not have the money. They can't charge more money. Their hands are tied. And so the quality in these not-for-profit centers are also dropping. Kids don't have access to the food. The parents are getting nickeled and dimed. And to say that they don't have the quality of care in a small, independent, female-owned, operated childcare center, that's not fair. Go look and see them. Thank you.
Question et commentaire, l'honorable député.
The honourable member for Repentigny. Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I listened carefully to my colleague's speech, and I think you can see all the ideology underlying that conservative speech. Now, when it comes to what committees do, well, committees make amendments. The bloc suggests amendments, including the option for Quebec to opt out completely from any federal program with full compensation. And I know that all the other parties voted against that, but I was a bit surprised by the position the Conservatives took, because they're constantly saying that they respect Quebec's jurisdiction and the provinces. So why, in this case, why didn't they? Why weren't they allies with the bloc?
Time, but I'll allow the honourable member for Edo Kawartha to respond.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I do feel that we were allies with the bloc, and we are allies in terms of what has happened. And you know what? They have got this right from day one. Keep it in the province. Why did the feds wade into this water? Why did they do this?
Reprise du débat, continuing debate.
Resuming debate. The honourable member for Portneuf, Jacques Cartier. I'd like to thank my colleague from Peterborough